Okay, here's that moment of truth where I wait for all the technology to wake up. And I'm like, you gonna wake? Who's gonna wake up first? Is Twitter gonna wake? Well, Twitter always wakes up first. Let's see where. Okay, YouTube. It looks like YouTube's gonna come in second. Yeah, YouTube. Oh man, it was neck and neck though. It was very close. It was totally neck and neck. And you guys know I prefer it when Rockfin beats out YouTube. That's just how it goes for me. But what are you gonna do? What's up, everybody? Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, good salutations, good day. I hope you are well. Shout out to everyone who helps make this show possible. Our friends over at Indie Left. Indie Left is a place to find all the content creators and streamers you know and love. What they do is they have a list. They update it twice a day to find out everything they got going on and to subscribe to their Discord. Go to independentleft.media. That's independentleft.media. So welcome to Get Your News On with Ron. This is the headlines show, the show that I do on Thursday where we kind of go through the headlines of the week. And I got someone helping me today. This is also that time of the month where the one and only, you know her, she has a book out called The Yas Queen Chronicles that she co-authored with Pat the Burner. It's a phenomenal book. It's hilarious. I've read it myself. Please welcome back to the show, the one and only Savage Joy. What's up, Joy?
Hello. I'm living the dream.
Nice. Good to see you. How's the weather out in Pennsylvania?
Okay, so I'm not even lying. 62 today.
That's nuts. That's warmer. I think that's warmer than where I'm at right now.
It's bananas. I can't believe it. It's absolutely bananas. And all this week, the low is 52. That's the lowest. And next week.
Yeah, it's almost like the climate's changing or something.
Isn't it?
It's
kind
almost
of
like
weird.
something's going on. You know what? It's funny because I mean, as you know, my family lives in Pennsylvania, and typically the weather here in Southern California is a little bit better than the weather in Pennsylvania. It's just kind of the way it is. And whenever that's not the case, they always like sort of passive aggressively let me know. You know what I mean? Like they called me because we had a storm earlier this week in Southern California, and I lost power on Tuesday. I didn't have power most of the day, and it was raining a bunch. And then yesterday was fine, and today it looks like it's fine too. But my parents called and they're like, "Oh yeah, we heard it. Are you okay? We heard that it's raining really bad in Southern California. You know, it's unseasonably warm here." Yeah, it's just like, okay.
They're so sweet. They are so sweet.
All right. So let's get to the news. We're going to start out with an update on Julian Assange, which, Joy, I'm sure you already know that the court has overturned the ruling that he can't be extradited to the United States. And now we're in the in between stage where his lawyers are going to basically appeal that was ruled on, and then it's going to go to the Supreme Court. Right now, it's just in the High Court, and this, of course, is over in the UK. So it's going to go to the UK Supreme Court, and again, we're just kind of stuck playing the waiting game. But here's something that I wanted to share, and I know this is not a very uplifting way to start the show, but this story is just too important. This is from Assange's brother in an interview that he did with Jordan Chariton over at Status Quo. Here's Julian Assange's brother, um, Gabriel Shipton. Here's what he has to say.
Came out that your brother had a mini stroke, I believe. How is his health right now? Because I know it's been deteriorating.
Yeah, I mean, it's just another, he's feeling the pressure and it's immense and it's years and years. It's been 11 years since he was first arrested in the UK. This is going to be his third Christmas in the maximum security prison, and the pressure is bearing down on him. And, you know, we can't be surprised that he's going to have a stroke. I mean, what's next? Is he going to, we live in fear that he won't survive this. And I think, he just has to go home. He just has to be given bail or Biden has to drop the charges. Otherwise, he will die.
That's eerie. They
Yeah.
have to drop the charges, otherwise he will die. And they are trying to kill this guy. And by the way, that's another thing. They found
Absolutely.
out he had a stroke. Julian Assange had a stroke. He's still in these terrible prison conditions. And I didn't
Absolutely.
realize, did you realize just like until his brother said it that this has been going on in total for 11 years?
Yes, and when I saw John Shipton, Julian's other brother, sign up for his emails, everyone watching, because he is brilliant, he's amazing, and he is very transparent. Through Gabriel and John Shipton, they were sharing how literally the only reason that he has been in prison like this is because of our country threatening extradition. Meaning, if our country never threatened extradition, he would not be in prison. It is all because of us.
It's remarkable. And yeah, I mean, of course, we are the most despicable player in all this, but the UK is helping. I mean, they're complicit in it. I mean, it's basically like we're the like a we'll make a Christmas story analogy because 'tis the season. We're Scott Farkas, but then the UK is the who was the other kid's name? His assistant, the assistant bully.
Um,
It's not important, but everyone knows. Did that guy even have a name? He had to have
I
had a name.
yes, yes, and
Scott Farkas's toady, because that's what he referred to. Ralphie
uh,
called him Scott Farkas's toady. Oh man, now
yes.
now we have to look it up. Scott Farkas sidekick. I bet that'll.
It's something really trite and 80s.
Of
Oh, I
course.
can't think.
Oh god, a bunch of images came up with Grover Dill. Yes, Grover Dill. That's his name.
You and I digress, but you have heard me laugh, like really laugh. And people tell me that I sound like the kid in A Christmas Story. Like when the kid's laughing at the
Oh,
table.
the brother, the little brother.
Yeah, the one that gets stuck in the snowsuit
Well,
like that.
he
I am
just kind of
constantly told that.
he just kind of has a cackle, which I guess
No,
you
he's
kind of
kind
have
of
it.
more like a like that kind of thing.
I don't think you sound quite like that. You definitely have a cackle, which is sort of I would
Don't
say
say
his
that word. That is so Hillary.
but that's the genre of laugh that it is. I cannot give Hillary propriety over that word because that is an accurate laugh descriptor. By the
Okay,
way, did
sorry.
you
What's that?
I have a new I don't know if you saw I tweeted this out. I do have a new theory on Jeff Epstein. I think
Yes.
I think that what happened was Hillary went to his cell and she just kept giving her masterclass until he did in fact kill himself.
I think that is
That's
100% feasible.
I think that's what really
Absolutely.
happened. So it was I mean it was definitely planned out, but that's really what they did.
Maybe
And
that's
then
how there's over 50 people on the suicided list that she's connected to. She just locks them in a room and she's like, he came, he saw, he died.
shout out to somebody. So I did tweet that, and someone did tweet underneath it, and I got to give them a shout out because I thought it was the funniest response to that tweet. They tweeted, "She came, she taught, he died." Oh man, is that the
Oh my
Christmas
god.
story?
Oh my god.
But
I'm
but
sorry, I got way off track.
we definitely got way off track, and the whole thing is, I mean, it's just remarkable what's going on. I was different than you when he said 11 years. Gabriel Shipton, when he said 11 years, that took me aback a little bit. I did not. I mean, when I thought about it, I was like, "Oh yeah, it has been that long." But off the top of my head, if someone just said, "How long has this whole thing been going on?" I would have said like 6 or 7 years. I would not have said. I mean, it's crazy to think that the whole thing. It has been over a decade. Over a
And
decade.
they are not only trying to kill him, they are trying to drive him mad.
Yeah.
Because what they're doing is they're doing sensory deprivation, but also what they're doing is they're playing tapes of stuff in his cell. So, like, tapes of like crazy shit in his cell to get his mind like thinking about like really bad stuff before he goes to court. And this is from his brothers saying this. So they
Well,
have like a speaker.
they messed with his food.
Yeah.
He's not given proper access to his defense.
Yeah.
And they also, I don't know if gaslighting's the right term in this particular case, but it's like they basically, they hyperbolize things for their own agenda. Like when he was sitting in the courtroom and he was like, "This is nonsense." They reported, they were like, "He's losing control. He's melting down." He said, "This is not." I could tell you this: if I was in his shoes, I would be saying a lot worse than "this is nonsense."
Yeah.
The fact that he limited himself to "this is nonsense," he deserves a freaking Peace Prize for that. I'd be saying a
Absolutely.
hell of a lot more than that if I was in his shoes, going through what he's going
Absolutely.
through. I mean, that's why I really don't understand well, apparently he's not a very pleasant person. First of all, that's irrelevant. Second of all, even if that is true, if you were going through what he's going through, how freaking pleasant would you be? How freaking, I don't think I'd be very pleasant. I think, "Hey, good morning. Go fuck yourself." You know what I'm going through right now?
Yeah.
I would
And
not be very pleasant.
maximum security prison for releasing documents. How does that require maximum security? Is he violent? No.
You know what deserves maximum security? Um, Protecting WikiLeaks as an outlet.
Yeah.
That's what deserves maximum. And by the way, they do practice quote unquote maximum security because they've never had to retract anything. So that
100% in
and they
over
and they
10
don't and they
years.
don't yep, and they don't divulge a source.
Yep.
So, I mean, this whole thing, when you break down and we've talked about it on this show, and I know you talk about it on your show, and other people have talked about it, and they just won't let it die because we can't. We
No.
can't. I mean, it's like we have to keep this going because the corporate media is just misreporting this. So and they still are. I mean, Joe Scarborough was just reporting this absolute nonsense that you can knock over with a feather. He was working in conjunction with Russia. There's no evidence of that whatsoever. They don't divulge a source. So even if their source was from Russia at some point, even if one of their sources was of Russian origin, who cares? How is that relevant? It isn't. And they never divulge sources. He
Yeah.
was working for Trump. The Trump administration tried to kill him. They
Yeah.
tried to kill the guy. He was working for him. They tried to kill him, but he was working for. Yeah, that tracks. Oh, and who's their star witness? The freaking guy out of Iceland who was embezzling money, has been caught committing fraud multiple times, and is a convicted sex offender, and was a turncoat on Julian Assange since 2014, and recently admitted he was lying about everything. That's their guy. That's their
Yeah.
star guy. His testimony. You couldn't write this stuff. You couldn't make it up. The fact that this is happening in real time, it is absurd beyond comprehension. And you see, and I want to let you jump in a second, but I also wanted to add this and let you respond. You see some of the pettiness on freaking social media just over the past 2 days. Well, I don't know if I want to support Assange because I'm not sure about his political belief. I don't even know I'll be honest. I don't know if you know. I don't even know what all of his personal political views are. I'm not even sure. It doesn't matter. How in the world is it right? I know what some of his deeper philosophies are. I know that he believes that, people need to know the truth, even if it's not convenient. That's one of his personal philosophies, which obviously got him into some trouble. But I don't even know, like, if we went issue at a time, like what does Julian Assange think about more bike lanes? I'm not even freaking sure. And I don't think it's relevant at all.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, excuse me.
See, you're coughing
Shitlibs.
because it's so exciting.
No, I was sneezing because
you
we're
don't
talking
want-
about shit libs, and I'm allergic.
You're allergic.
I think one of the ways you can tell if someone's just totally unserious is if they're talking about such a thing like I know, when Julian's been, talked to as far as the 2016 election, he says, I realize it helped Bernard, but that was not my goal. I am not political. This isn't about Bernard, Hillary, Trump. This isn't about that. He said, I've looked into Trump too. There is nothing shocking about that dude. Everything's transparent. I would publish stuff if it was stuff people didn't already know, but everyone
Yeah,
knows everything I'm finding. So there's that. And also, I do know Julian has given many, many interviews giving props to Black Lives Matter. That I do know. But, and, as far as, defending him or not defending him, this is the problem with people online. It really, to them, is, first of all, they think he's arrested because of 2016, because they're fucking stupid and they're ignorant and they don't try to learn. And second of all, they think that they focus on how the emails, look at the emails. Hillary literally said, can't we drone this guy? Like, I don't give a fuck if Satan himself provided this information. I don't care. What you should be pissed about is that our freaking military and our country is disgusting murderers. That's what you should care about, not who gave him the info.
yeah.
To me, that's moot.
And if you want to focus
what
and
he
applying that
exposed.
and applying that to 2016, if you want to get mad that the DNC was blatantly cheating, that they were putting their thumb on the scale for Hillary Clinton. Get mad about that. Don't get mad that they got caught doing it. And Julian Assange, one of his biggest personal philosophies is people deserve to know the truth. So no, he wasn't trying to help Bernie. He wasn't trying to help Trump. He was just saying, this is something the public ought to know. And when you hear these ridiculous asides from people like, well, the timing was a little suspect. What would better timing have been after the frickin' election? Would that have been him doing his job? Hey, I got this thing. We'll wait until after November to tell you about it. That would have been, what sense would that have made?
From the campaign. They were current emails. What the hell is he supposed to do? Like, all I know is when I was marching in those streets at the convention at Occupy DNC, we were all, just like at the gate trying to push the gate down, and like all the while we are just watching this shit drop, like as we're protesting. And it was heartbreaking. It was really hard. Emotions were just intolerable at some times, those 6 days. But seeing those emails, we're just like, look, you dumbasses, here's more and more proof as we march outside this convention. So that was when I realized what a hero Julian was and how this is just such an injustice.
Well, when he was just exposing all, and not just him alone, but all of WikiLeaks, when they were exposing all the war crimes around Iraq and around it, and not just the United States, but also what Blair was complicit in. I mean, that was huge. The fact that such a thing exists is huge. And back then, Julian Assange, I mean, I still remember, and you still remember when Julian Assange was rightfully so considered a true journalistic hero to most people.
Absolutely.
Because, except for Bush and his lackeys, because most, people at this point, George W. Bush had like a 20% approval rating. People were over Iraq, and they were like, yeah, this guy did a huge service. Then all of a sudden he publishes stuff about, people you like. And now he's public enemy number one. I mean, it was a shocking 180, which just shows the complete fickleness of our contemporary political landscape and the people driving these narratives, the DNC, the donor class. It's just so incredibly phony. There is not and it's not just the DNC side, the GOP side too, of course. But there's not an ounce of sincerity in any of it. It's a game. We are a casino to these freaking people.
Absolutely. And then you have people like Donna Brashill who's saying, you can't read these emails. It's illegal. Like, Are you kidding me? Like,
Until
you
she gets a book
denied
deal.
everything in there. And oh my God. Oh my God. And then she dedicates it to Seth Rich. The gall.
Mm.
She is so repulsive. I cannot with her. I tweet at her a lot. I'm surprised she hasn't blocked me yet.
Donna Brazil?
Oh yeah.
What is she? I see. I mute. I try to mute as many politicians as I can on Twitter. And it's not because, like, I don't feel like, "Oh, yeah, I'm showing them." Like, who ca they probably don't even know who I am, and they probably don't care. But it's just, at this point, just seeing I mean, I call them the ministry of appeasement. Just seeing these virtue signaling bullshit tweets about policies they're not doing anything for. And they're just
Yeah.
I mean, I can't I just don't even wanna see it. I don't want because I don't care what you're tweeting. I don't care what you say. I don't care what I care how you vote,
Yeah.
and that is it. That is the only value you have. You are nothing more than one tool in the toolkit for change, and you're failing us miserably.
Yeah.
And that goes to everybody, everybody. So I don't, I don't have any personal attachment to what you say. I don't want to be your friend. I don't want to vote for you at all. I mean, I vote and I try to use my vote to the best of my ability. But, most of the time when I hear somebody talk, I'm like, I don't want to support this person.
Yeah.
But
Same.
it's like usually when I meet politicians too, like it's just been such an underwhelming experience 90 some percent of the time. Like I don't it's an unpleasant I was like I wouldn't want you to watch my cat. I wouldn't trust you to give her medicine the right way. And but this is when you have such I mean George Carlin summed it up perfectly. When you have a garbage system, it attracts garbage. Garbage in, garbage out. Garbage in, garbage out. That's our system. The most underwhelming of people are drawn to political office. It's not everyone. There's some exceptions, and those exceptions lose 99.9% of the freaking time
Yeah.
because it's a system. It's a system based on power. It's a system based on money. It's a system based on selling your mind. I mean, that's the only difference between a prostitute and a politician. One sells their body, one sells their mind.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
and so it's anyway.
Sometimes I fantasize about what it would be like to still have Carlin, because what a genius.
Yeah.
I can't even fathom how mad he'd be going right now, like
Well,
just watching.
a lot of the people who channel him and you're hearing them and you're like, there's no way he would be for anything you're about. He
Yep.
would be able to shut those people up. He
Yeah.
would. And I mean, I don't. We could talk all day if we get into specifics, but there's certain people online where it's just like, well, Carlin, and it's like, dude, Carlin was nothing like you at all. He
Mhm.
never was. He never would be. He's not what you're emulating right now. But okay. Um. So
True.
so Julian Assange. Man, and I've said this before on the show, and I know those of you who tune in week after week, you hear me say this, but it's hard not to feel helpless because it's just these are such powerful people that are doing this. But this is an assault on free press of a generation.
It
And,
is.
I encourage everybody to just do your part to not let this story fade away and to talk to people. Because a lot of people, they don't have like a formed take on Assange. And it's not because they don't care. It's not because they're stupid. It's because the corporate media just feeds lies or silence and people are living their lives. I think if everyone knew what was really going on in this case, the real nitty gritty of what this is, and they see through the fluff lies that they've been told for 10 years and counting, I think everybody would be calling for his freedom.
And I will tell you, there is no better way to explain it to people than Assange's mom, Christine. She
Mhm.
published a letter essentially 2 days ago from a mother's perspective of what she is watching being done to her son. And
Mm.
if you can read that and not understand everything that is at stake and everything that is happening to that man, you are not a human rights person. You are not a supporter of free press. And you are, just an awful person, period. What he's going through is awful. And here's the real irony: if he does come to the US, he's going to be in the exact prison that Chelsea Manning was in
Oh my
Virginia.
God. Wow.
So, I mean, like, it's Groundhog Day.
Mm. Minus the comedy.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, let's move on to something that's actually a little bit of good news here. So out in Buffalo, Starbucks got their first union. The Starbucks employees, rather, not Starbucks itself. I'm sure Howard Schultz isn't happy about this, but Starbucks got their first union out in Buffalo. Now, when you use the word contagious, it's not a good thing most of the time, but sometimes some contagious things are great. And you know what's contagious? Municipal broadband. When someone gets municipal broadband, everyone else around them wants to get it. You know what else
Yep.
is contagious? Strikes. You know what else is contagious? Protests. And you know what else is also contagious? Wanting to unionize, baby. That is also contagious. This is from Bloomberg of all places, so this is probably a sob piece. But Starbucks workers pushed to unionize in the Boston area after the New York win. Starbucks employees are petitioning to unionize 2 Massachusetts coffee shops. Joy's dog is so excited. Duchess is barking. She's a pro-union dog. This
She
is just
is.
days after a landmark New York vote created the sole labor foothold among the chain's thousands of corporate-run U.S. stores. They filed with the National Labor Relations Board on Monday. Workers at locations in Boston and nearby Brookline requested votes on joining Workers Union and affiliated of the Service Employees International Union. Hell yeah, it's happening. Pro-union employees in Buffalo say they've heard from a slew of supportive coworkers around the country. The union's staying power will depend in large part on its ability to actually secure a collective bargaining agreement with Starbucks, which is no easy task. Federal law requires that a company negotiate in good faith. The companies don't do that. Look at what Amazon did in Bessemer. But anyway, once a union is certified to have won an election, it doesn't force it to make major concessions. All right. So there we go. It's spreading.
Awesome.
It's spreading. It's happening. And Starbucks is going to crack down on this. I mean, they let Buffalo slide. If they see it spreading, they're going to crack down on this to the best of their ability. They're probably, Howard Schultz is probably going to call Jeff Bezos and say, hey, give me some
Yeah.
notes. Give me some, what did you do to the people in Bessemer? And Amazon can tell them, well, the first thing you do is you intimidate any pro-union workers, get their information, antagonize them if they ask a question. Don't allow any pro-union literature anywhere. If they're passing it out outside, see if you can get the city to help you. Like maybe you can take down stoplights going into a warehouse so that union supporters can't pass out literature to their coworkers. Maybe you can do that. And then, when they're tallying the votes, make sure you put a mailbox right in the middle of the facilities, even though the labor board told you shouldn't be able to do that. And then make sure you and your people are the only people who have access to it. That's what happened in Bessemer. And it was so bad, the National Labor Board decided you have to redo this and they have to redo the vote. That's how corrupt Amazon was. So Starbucks, I guess maybe they're thinking, well, we don't want the labor board to slap us on the wrist and make us redo something anyway. So we'll just let the process play out, at least compared to the way Amazon did. And people wanted to unionize. I mean, this is, go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know if you've seen some of the articles and videos, but people are coming forward, from the New York, Buffalo Starbucks, saying that they had they had corporate Starbucks people posing as associates to try and hear what they were saying about unionizing,
Oh, I'm
and
sure.
then firing the people who were in support of it. There was one girl who shared her story. She was a manager, and she had 101 fever. She couldn't stop going to the bathroom. She was so sick, and corporate was not returning her texts or calls. So basically she felt forced to go in because there was no one else to open the store. And they were cool with her having a fever and everything, serving people. And she ended up getting sick on the floor of Starbucks when she was helping people.
Right.
And they wrote her up and said, "You are under investigation." And literally, she put in her 2 weeks, and they said, "As of now, you are actually terminated."
This is so
So
sick. It's so
it's
sick. I mean,
disgusting.
and this is as sick as what happened in the Midwest where people died in warehouse facilities because
Yeah.
they weren't allowed to go home during a tornado because Amazon said you have to keep working during a
Yeah.
tornado, and people literally got killed. I mean,
And
this is
we as people need to be very conscientious, because one of the reasons people like this woman felt obligated to go in is because people will bang on the door if they can't get their Starbucks. Buddha forbid it's closed for an hour till they get someone else or something. People will raise hell. So if you see something like this, don't freak out at employees like, "Why weren't you open yesterday?" or something. They were obviously short of help. So it falls on us too. Let's not be assholes to workers.
I agree. I mean, we have to, my my basic summary of it, well, it is true there is no ethical consumption under capitalism, which is true. That is not an excuse to not do your best. And what I mean by that is like, look, I get it. There are some people, it's like, they can't really avoid Amazon. I mean, maybe they live in a place where it's like there's no other way for them to get certain things. Maybe they can't avoid Walmart because there is nothing else in their town. Maybe they can't avoid Starbucks because there is literally no other coffee shop. I get that. But just do the best you can. I mean, make every effort. Be decent to the people there, obviously, and also like make the effort. Like I live in Los Angeles. I don't have to, go to a Starbucks. There's usually an independent option where you can get a better cup of coffee anyway. So that's where I go 100% of the time, pretty much. It's one of those things. As consumers, like we do have a call to do our absolute best. Now you can take that to an extreme where, you basically just wag your finger at every little thing and like, look, guess what? Unless you are living off grid and you make all of your own clothes and grow and or hunt all of your own food, you are not perfect. So none of us are perfect. None of us are perfect consumers, but you do your best.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
But here's the other thing before we move on, the one thing I wanted to add to this, why I am so, why this is such an important thing, other than just the blatant obvious, is that not only is this spreading unions, but it's also reclaiming what it means to be a union in the United States. Because, we have to understand the history that for about 60 years now, unions have been defanged in this country, and it's showing there. And as a result, you get people like they don't have the best experience from unions because the people at the top aren't really looking out for them. So they're kind of weary of unions in general. And that's something we have to combat. We have to say, like, no, there's a lot of great unions out there. We need to foster those good ones, drive out those bad ones, and reclaim what it means to really be a union and
Yeah.
build good new unions.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a definite misconception with many people that unionizing means everything's fixed in a way, but there are still meetings, there is still collective bargaining, there may very well still be protests, things like that. So that is the first step.
Hmm. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we gotta reclaim things. I mean, we just gotta reclaim things because it's like, again, it's like you get people where it's like they have this certain gauge of things because of, years and years of conditioning. And we gotta undo all that. And that's no easy task, but it is slowly happening because people have had enough.
Absolutely.
So we got some tech news and we got some news over at the FCC. Now, as you guys know, the FCC has been in a gridlock since the start of Biden's term because he hasn't appointed a head, or he hasn't officially made someone head, and he hadn't appointed a fifth seat to the FCC. Now, there's a little bit of good news here, and there's a little bit of bad news. We'll do the bad news first, and then we'll do the good news second. So there has been some movement. Finally, the Biden administration was not in a hurry to act on this, maybe because he started his dinner with a bunch of Comcast executives. But we need the FCC to have a 3-2 majority in favor of net neutrality so we get net neutrality back. And here's the bad news. And we've been reporting on this a lot. Gigi Sohn will not receive a confirmation vote on December 15th. This was yesterday. The Senate Commerce Committee will not be voting next week on Gigi Sohn because more members want to meet with her. That's another ominous sign for her nomination in the wake of fierce GOP criticism. The problem with her is she doesn't like Fox News. She tweeted about Fox News. She doesn't like FCC appointee, doesn't like Fox News. Who cares? But anyway, it seems to ensure that which is required won't happen until 2022. So that's the bad news. Gigi Sohn has not gotten a confirmation hearing, and we faced the possibility that the FCC could actually go in a 2-1 majority on the anti-net neutrality side, but it looks like that's not going to happen because here is the good news on this front. The good news concerns Jessica Rosenworcel, who is going to be head. So here's the news there. This is from The Verge. Jessica Rosenworcel confirmed by the Senate to lead the FCC. She will be the first female chair in FCC history. On Tuesday, the Senate voted 68-31 to confirm Jessica Rosenworcel's reappointment to the FCC, putting her in place to be the first permanent chair of the agency under President Biden. She'll also be the first female chair in the 86-year history of the FCC. Also, she's a good chair. Jessica Rosenworcel, good on digital rights, good on net neutrality. She is a good chair appointment. I'm thrilled that she's the chair. What sucks is that she's not going to have a 3-2 majority going into 22. It's going to be a 2-2 deadlock. It could be even worse. We could be looking 2-1, but she's going to be the head. That's good, but they're still on a 2-2 deadlock, which means her term could be completely useless if they don't fix that 2-2 deadlock. And so it's amazing how slow they're moving, and there's literally no reason for it. There's no reason for it. I mean, we all know Democrats have control on everything, but still, they're dragging their feet on this, and they're making this big deal about Gigi Sohn because she tweeted that she doesn't like Fox News. That's their big thing. She doesn't like Fox News. How will that? Who cares where she gets her news? Who cares?
Yeah, absolutely. This is, such an interesting topic to watch leftists, because some people don't really get it, and some people actually are like wavering which so-called side they're on, which is very, very strange to me.
The Hill recently did a piece on net neutrality that was so tragically tone deaf. It was such a terrible piece on net neutrality, and it was so disappointing. And I don't watch anything that goes on there, but my Joe, who helps me out on the show, he found the segment and he tweeted it out. And then underneath it, he tweeted out a segment I did a couple years ago that basically debunks all the points that they were making. So a couple, like they were recycling points that are just nonsensical points that, like, I talked about this years ago, and they're just repeating it on the Hill to thousands and thousands of people who are going to see it. And they're kind of conflating what net neutrality actually is, what net neutrality actually does, how long we've had net neutrality. Spoiler alert, folks, we have had net neutrality since the invention of the internet. As long as the internet's been around, we've had net neutrality. We got it officially on the books in 2015. Why? Because in 2014, a bunch of cable companies sued saying they didn't have to follow net neutrality rules. Before, we just kind of said, like, you're going to follow net neutrality, but it wasn't a cemented law. So cable companies were like, well, it's not a cemented law. We don't have to follow it. And they took it to court and they won. But the courts were like, well, if you designate the internet a Title II, which means it's a utility in our lives, which the internet is, then you can have net neutrality laws. Tom Wheeler and the FCC, they didn't really want to do this, but they had to, because the public crashed their website with comments and because Barack Obama promised to uphold net neutrality. So at the 11th hour, they did the right thing and we got net neutrality on the books. And the whole, why haven't we felt the effects of a post-net neutrality world yet? Because there are states that pass net neutrality laws. So these big cable companies are kind of crippled because they can't unroll huge anti-net neutrality packages if they can't do it in places like California or places like New York. So that's what's happening. And that's why we need it federal, because eventually they'll find a way around the states. They'll find a way around it. They'll figure it out. So here's something you can do. Free Press has a petition out there. You can tell the Senate to confirm Biden's FCC nominee and get the agency up and running. You can go to freepress.net, sign that petition. You go to battleforthenet.com. Again, that's battleforthenet.com. Pressure them to confirm Gigi Sohn as soon as possible. It is unacceptable that we have not had a confirmation this year. Keep in mind, the Biden administration, this is the longest anybody has waited to confirm anyone to the FCC since Nixon. And they didn't even do the whole job. They still don't have a full FCC committee.
Right.
They still have a 2-2 deadlock. They did more than nothing. They didn't do completely nothing. They at least made Jessica Rosenworcel head, but they still don't have a fully staffed FCC. They still don't have it. This is the longest, at this point, probably the longest in history. I mean, it was the longest second. I think it was tied with, Nixon, for whatever reason, waited super long. But basically, historic. So, they're trying to say, oh, he made history by appointing the first female head, which, hey, that's all well and good. It's also cool that she's a good FCC head. But, he also waited longer than ever to frickin' do it. He also made history in that department by waiting longer than ever to just do this basic thing. Jessica Rosenworcel was more than deserving of this job, more than deserving. Should have been one of the first things he did. Should have been one of the first freaking things. It's an easy thing to do.
Yeah. I am kind of trepidatious that he would pick her, though. I'm like, is she gonna stay true to?
Oh no, she's got a pretty much 100% track record. I mean, she's got as good as a resume as you can ask for. And I think in this case, it wasn't really. I doubt Biden as an individual really had much input here. He was probably just like, yeah, I guess that's kind of what I have to do. Because when they did that whole joint task force thing, they made him promise to be pro-net neutrality. Biden as an individual, keep in mind, was anti-net neutrality. He was one of the only, even Democrats, who was anti-net neutrality. But they made him promise he'd be pro-net neutrality on that task force. So yeah, I mean, I'm happy she's head, and she has given nothing in her history to indicate there's reason to not be happy she's head of the FCC.
Yeah, I mean, she's certainly the best one. I mean, there was no competition. I am hopeful. I really am. I think she's great. It's just that little piece of me, like, why would Biden pick her? But
well,
she's
Gigi Sohn's a great pick too, and I doubt Biden had much say in that. I mean, she's still a great pick. It doesn't matter who's picking her, but it's interesting to me that it's like, people are patting him on the back, like, oh, this is history. Meanwhile, it's like, okay, that's great that you appointed her, but are you going to let her do her freaking job? Because if you just stick her with a 2-2 deadlock, she isn't going to be able to do anything.
Right.
So it's like, how about you give her Gigi Sohn so that she can have the majority she should have because of what's going on in the White House. That's how public opinion is supposed to work. The FCC should reflect what's going on in the White House. So there should be a 3-2 majority in favor of net neutrality. And yet they're dragging their feet on it.
Yeah.
So go to freepress.net, go to battleforthenet.com, sign these petitions, demand that they appoint Gigi Sohn as soon as possible. As soon as freaking possible. It should not have taken this long. We shouldn't even be talking about this. It should have happened a while ago, where Jessica Rosenworcel should have been made head and Gigi Sohn should be appointed to the FCC. Again, these are FCC positions. The only thing that matters is how they vote. And guess what? Gigi Sohn, Jessica Rosenworcel, they're going to be pro-net neutrality votes. Guaranteed. So, yeah, there we go. Joy, where can people go to find all of your stuff?
So my Twitter handle is below. You can find my parody book that Ron was giving props to. It's a shitlib parody. At savageandpat.com. I have a lot going on. I have my YouTube and Rockfin that I've done for almost 5 years. Savage Joy Marie Mann. Also Mondays I do a panel show with comrades Andrew and Logan, 9:30 p.m. That is on the Populist. Oh my God. I've been doing it for months and I can't think. Populist
Voice
Network. Oh my God. What's wrong with me? Oh God. I hope they're not watching this. So I do my own shows other nights. And then Friday, I did just start something on my Rockfin only, which is a true crime podcast. That I'm doing with two other Populist Voice Network people, Felice and Amira. And we are actually doing deep dives into cases, like sharing stuff you guys do not know. So it's not a regular true crime. And we're doing Ghislaine right now. So we've been, we've researched for weeks before we do an episode. So
Do you think
definitely
they're going to
check
let
that
her
out.
off?
I don't, but I don't think she's going to get nearly enough what she should.
I don't know what to think, to tell you the truth. I feel like nothing would surprise me. I
Yeah,
feel
no.
I want to say, I don't even know. I mean, part of me thinks she's going to get off.
I wouldn't be
I hope I'm
surprised.
wrong. And yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I wouldn't be surprised at all. Like, yeah, I don't know. Because they're already trying to make it out like, oh, she's a victim.
Yeah, yeah,
She's a
exactly,
victim.
which is so
Cool story.
repugnant.
It's, yeah. All right.
Ugh.
Joy, thank you so much for being here today. And this is our last that time of the month of 2021. So have a
True.
wonderful holiday season.
You too. Thanks so much for watching, and thanks so much for having me each month.
All right, Joy. Be well. Talk to you soon.
Take care.
Peace. Savage Joy, you guys know the drill. Check her out. Follow her on Twitter. Check out her Rockfin channel and YouTube and Populist Voice and all the stuff she's got going on. A new true crime podcast. That's kind of cool. I got to check that out. Guys, thank you so much for being here. That has been the headlines portion of the show. Tour dates, I got them. Don't wait. Grab your tickets for April. Grab them for the holidays. Makes a great holiday gift. RonPlacone.com. Where all am I coming? Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Toronto, Ottawa, Montreal, Burlington, Vermont, Portland, Maine, Boston, Massachusetts, New York City, baby. You can get tickets at RonPlacone.com for those Canada and Northeast dates. That's RonPlacone.com. Kicks off in April, but don't wait. Grab your tickets now. RonPlacone.com. If you want to support this show on the sustainability end, Patreon.com/RonPlacone. For Give What You Can level, you get all kinds of exclusive content, and I'll make you a theme song. Makes a great holiday gift. I've been making some holiday theme songs for families and loved ones. I'd love for you to be on that list, and you can get all that for a Give What You Can level. No tiers on my Patreon. It's just give whatever level you're comfortable with. Even $1 a month goes a long way. So good way to support the show. Patreon.com/RonPlacone. Check out Joy's stuff. And in the meantime, you know the drill. Lucy, she says meow. And I say peace. I say peace, love, and a general strike. Net neutrality now. Appoint Gigi Stone. Unionize. Starbucks in Massachusetts and all the other Starbucks. Head everywhere. Unionize. Peace.